Get in the game with NFL Sunday Ticket from Rev TV. You'll get every game every Sunday afternoon from around the league. Plus, NFL Sunday Ticket gives you up to 8 live games on one screen with Game Mix. You'll get that died and woke up in football heaven experience when you upgrade to NFL Sunday Ticket Deluxe, including Red Zone, the channel dedicated to every scoring play from every game. And if you add Rev TV HD to NFL Sunday Ticket Deluxe, you'll be entered to win big weekly prizes with NFL Wildcard Mania. Get in the game with NFL Sunday Ticket.
A bloody weekend as 2 men are murdered overnight and another is killed in a traffic accident. Meteorologists monitoring Tropical Storm Cristobal. Government to vote on constitutional amendment bills tomorrow. Plus, we've got those stories and a whole lot more tonight. I'm Bonnie Toot and NV12 starts now. Topping news tonight, 48 hours after a man was gunned down in Kemp Road, Central Detective Unit officers were called to the scenes of 3 drive-by shootings, which left 2 men dead and 2 others in hospital. Homicide detectives believe the 2 murders are connected and that the vehicle used in those killings is also connected to an early morning traffic fatality. The latest killing happened around 1:30 a.m. when police say a 22-year-old man from Lyon Road was walking along Johnson Alley off Wolf Road. Officer in charge of the Firearms Tracing and Investigation Unit, Superintendent Ken Strawn, told NB12 on the scene that 4 males riding in a silver Honda Accord drove alongside the victim. One of them exited the vehicle and opened fire.
Reports are that the male, while walking on Wolf Road, was chased through Johnson Alley, and one of the persons exited the vehicle, fired several shots as he lied on the ground. The vehicle turned and rolled over the individual, fleeing this area, heading in a Leeds City direction.
Strawn says when officers arrived on the scene, they found the victim lying in the street with multiple gunshot wounds. He was transported to Princess Margaret Hospital where he died. Less than 2 hours before that incident, Strawn says a group of people were sitting on a wall on Avocado Street in Pinewood Gardens when the occupants of a vehicle rolled down the window and opened fire on them, hitting a 20-year-old resident of that area and a woman.
Shortly after 12 this morning, the police received a report of gunshots originating from the Avocado Street in Pinewood Gardens. Officers responded to the scene and found a male victim who was suffering from apparent gunshot wounds about the body. He was transported to hospital by EMS personnel. Unfortunately, he succumbed while being attended to at that location. It is also understood in that incident, a female received some injuries and she likewise was transported to the hospital.
The female victim's condition is unknown. Strawn says authorities believe the 2 incidents may be connected.
The information from both of these scenes ties to a gray Honda type vehicle that was seen traveling along the streets of Avocado prior to that incident, and likewise here at Johnson Alley, a similar vehicle in which was traveling from this location.
But the bloodshed didn't end there. Strawn says that silver Honda is also believed to be connected to an early morning traffic fatality. According to reports, a 20-year-old man left his sister's home on Strawn's Alley around 1:30 a.m. and was walking home when he was struck by a silver Honda. Strawn says the vehicle was discovered a short distance away and the occupants attempted to destroy it.
There was a Honda type vehicle found a short distance away. Information was that persons were around that vehicle trying to set it ablaze. We have reasons to suspect that this vehicle might very well be connected to the 2 previous incidents, and officers are at all of these scenes trying to bring some level of understanding as to what transpired here throughout this night.
Hours before those incidents occurred, officers were called to the scene of a drive-by shooting on Kwaku Street. Strawn says the victim had just left a relative's funeral on Saturday when he was shot by the occupants of a Toyota with a Commonwealth Drugs logo on it. Insert.
There was a report of gunshot coming out of Kwaku Street, just east of the police station. Responding officers found a male who was just attending the funeral of a relative. He was lying in the streets. When checked, it was found that he received gunshot wounds to the upper body. He was transported to the Accident and Emergency section of Princess Margaret Hospital, where he is still detained in hospital with very, very serious injuries.
In other news, Tropical Storm Cristobal formed over the southern Bahamas early this morning, causing several airlines to cancel scheduled flights. Forecaster Greg Thompson says Cristobal is the third tropical storm of the Atlantic hurricane season, as winds increased to 45 miles per hour with gusts up to 75 miles per hour.
Cristobal formed actually, became a named storm this morning at around 6:20, 6:30 thereabouts. It was still a tropical depression early this morning, but by 6:20 was given a name, Cristobal.
Thompson says the southern islands were heavily impacted with torrential downpours, gusty squalls, and rough surf from the Turks and Caicos Islands to the southern Bahamas. He says those islands reportedly experienced 4 to 8 inches of rain.
Nagua, Turks and Caicos Islands, and Maguana. Winds are up to 45 miles per hour, which is just near the category for a tropical storm. It's going to continue to move towards the northwest, as I mentioned, over the next 24 to 48 hours.
On the forecast track, the center of the storm will move near or over portions of central Bahamas through Monday. It is expected to get stronger over the next 48 hours. Thompson adds that the storm's track also shows movement more to the northeast as the week progresses, taking it away from the Bahamas and causing minimal impact on islands in the central and northern Bahamas.
On its present track, the islands of Acklins and Crooked Island, San Salvador, Rum Cay, those islands along the extreme eastern side of the Bahamas will most likely see the brunt of the storm itself, and that means in terms of rainfall and thunderstorm activity. In terms of winds, the entire chain will start to see, we are feeling an increase in winds right now. Eventually by Monday into Tuesday, the storm will be to the east of the northern Bahamas. So we will probably see some showers out of that system as well, but most likely it'll be squally weather.
Once north of the Bahamas, he says it is expected to eventually become a hurricane. While most of the Bahamas is expected to be spared from Cristobal's wrath, Thompson cautioned Bahamians to make the necessary precautions. Despite initial fears that the constitutional amendment bills would not receive the required support in Parliament, Chairman of the Constitutional Commission Sean McQueenie says he doesn't anticipate any problems tomorrow when government votes on the bills. Though several MPs from both sides have raised concerns in recent weeks, McQueenie says he fully expects all of those bills to be passed in the House of Assembly.
Factored in these public concerns and having reflected these public concerns in the amendments, we think that we now have a level of support amongst the parliamentary group, both opposition and government, that should ensure the passage of the bills.
Following further consultations on the proposed constitutional amendment bills, McQueenie says he expects unanimity when the government votes on the bills on Monday. The bills were sent to committee in the House last week. Despite changing his tune earlier this month, opposition leader Dr. Hubert Minnis indicated last week that his side will support the amended bills. PLP MP Renward Wells has also said he would now support Bill number 4 after government proposed to add the definition of the word sex. McQueenie says he feels revisions to the bills help to get the process back on track.
We have made amendments not only in response to suggestions from MPs, but also in response to members of the public. We have amended Bill number 4 to address the concerns about same-sex marriage. We think we've done that in the definition that's now going to be inserted of the word sex as meaning male or female. We've also addressed the concerns for Bill number 2 to make sure that there is no automatic effect to the provisions, that no foreign spouse is going to get citizenship automatically. There's a procedure that has to be gone through, an application process that has to be adhered to.
He says the commission sent the latest versions of the bills to the government and opposition Tuesday night. However, Marco City MP Greg Moss isn't sold on the proposed change to the Fourth Constitutional Amendment Bill, which seeks to eliminate discrimination based on sex. He called it incomprehensible, asserting it doesn't go far enough to allay fears over same-sex marriage.
The way we've done it is the correct way to do it because we don't want to turn Bill number 4 into a same-sex amendment. It's not about same-sex. It's about instituting equality between men and women. End of story. That's all it's about. That was the only purpose of the insertion of the word sex, which we continue to say is not a new word to the Constitution.
McQueenie says the commission would continue to speak with Moss, who suggested a line in question 4 that makes it clear same-sex marriage would be outlawed.
The Constitutional Commission is still in discussions with Greg Moss. It's giving him a full day. There's been correspondence in back channels between the commission and Mr. Moss. We have every respect for his views. As has been said, honest people can have honest differences. And we have considered his recommendations. Not sure we can agree with them, but we're certainly factoring them into our analysis.
Although opposition leader Dr. Hubert Minnis has announced his parliamentary team will support the constitutional amendment bills once they are amended and come out of committee, at least 2 F&M MPs say they have lingering concerns about the bills and find the entire process disconcerting. Montague MP Richard Lightbourne, who initially raised concern about the third bill, says he plans to support the bills if they are amended, but it all feels rushed.
Well, I don't know at this point what the final bill is. It seems that a couple of the bills, there are some amendments that have been proposed, and we have been shown amendments, but the government has not at this point committed themselves to those amendments. So I really don't know exactly what it is that I'm going to be voting for, but I assume that the corrections will be made. I think it's totally disconcerting that here we are dealing with the most important bill that we could be looking at during this term, and we still don't know what the final bill is. We're debating it, and yet we don't know what we're actually debating.
He fears the referendum will fail if government continues on this course.
I think the disadvantage could be that people are going to say no. They don't understand it. They feel it's being rushed. There's a suspicion out there that they're not happy with what's happening, and when you rush it in that way, I think people are going to have the natural feeling that some agenda that government's trying to impose, and their natural instinct will be to say no.
St. Anne's MP Hubert Chipman says he too plans to support the bills, but he feels further changes should be made to number 4, which seeks to end discrimination based on sex. Government proposes to add the definition of the word sex to the question. However, Chipman suggested officials go one step further.
One of the things that I still would want to see inside Bill number 4 is they said they have male and female, but the thing I would like to see included in that amendment is at birth. And I think that will clarify everything.
And why do you think at birth is so important?
Well, I guess, I guess when we look at, certain cases were cited in the House of Assembly, particularly the ones out of London where there was a change of sex, and I think it came to the point where they found out. So, and they had to go back to at birth. So I think at birth would answer all the questions.
Chipman says he will support Bill number 4 even if at birth is not added, but once again stressed constituents should have been consulted before Monday's vote.
Hear things like that. There is no motive behind what I'm doing. As far as I'm concerned, I think the people should be consulted when you're talking about changing a sacred document as far as the Constitution is concerned. So it is the cart before the horse. And there are going to be questions later on when the bill is passed already. All right? And I think with clarity, I can't tell you how people will vote at this time, but I believe with clarity and some discussions, it may contribute something that is totally different than probably what the outcome may or may not be.
And as thousands of public school students prepare to head back to the classroom, Education Minister Jerome Fitzgerald says the cost of summer repairs is the highest it's been in the past 3 years. Jasmine Brown reports.
Education Minister Jerome Fitzgerald revealing that the government will be spending $1 million more this year to ensure that schools are properly repaired. Fitzgerald says $7.7 million was spent this summer. That's up from the $5.2 million spent last year.
This year we're spending about $7.7 million, which is, a little bit more than we've spent in the last 2 years. We spent around 6 point something, almost 7 million, which is still quite a bit. But over the last 3 years, I've made an attempt to really bring the physical plant up to the standard I think that it should have been.
The education minister says while the cost of repairs is high, they are much needed, as his ministry ensures the facilities are suitable for the 55,000 students enrolled in the public school system.
And in Grand Bahama, we spent $1 million in my first year, $1 million in the second year, and this year we spent $400,000. So it just goes to tell you that we've now gotten the plant to the point where we're comfortable. I think next year it won't be as much because I'm satisfied now with some schools. When I came in, needed $500,000 worth of repairs, and this year we just spent the final $150,000 on those what I consider major repairs.
Since taking over the post in 2012, Fitzgerald says he and his team have sought to begin repairs earlier on in the summer.
It's 160-some schools throughout the Bahamas, and then the challenge has always been in previous years is that the budget, because of the way our budget falls, which is June 30th, monies are not normally released until towards the end of July, which means that traditionally you couldn't get started until August. So there just wasn't enough time for 4 weeks to do repairs. And so when I came in as a minister, I started using monies from the previous budget and trying to award the contracts earlier before June 30th so that we could start mobilizing in July. And that in and of itself gave us 6 to 8 weeks as opposed to 4 weeks before. Based on what we see in the payment schedule that I sign off on for the contractors, it looks as if everything is on schedule. A lot of the work is already complete. There are 1 or 2 works we know are still going on, but we expect by the end of next week everything should be complete by the time the teachers come back.
Not all of the funds have been spent on school repairs. More than $130,000 of the $7.7 million was used to replace air conditioning units at Uriah McPhee and Stephen Dillette primary schools. Both schools opened late last year due to those issues. Fitzgerald says he expects the cost of repairs to decrease over the next few years once major works are completed. Reporting for NV12 Weekend, I'm Jasmine Brown.